Welcome back to the game of Runebound. This is a two-player game putting Jonas the Kind versus Tobin the Farslayer. Jonas has a great opportunity to go to a red marker, but will he take it? Even if he was willing to take that risk, he can't, because he didn't get any forest results, which he will need to go over to the red marker. He decides to go over to the purple marker, and we're going to reveal a card, most probably ignore it, but then get to roll for the colt to move. We will ignore this card, but roll 3 movement dice. The first result he gets is hills, plains, and road. Because he can choose where the colt moves if there's 2 hills, he's obviously going to decide for it not to go in the space where he's at right now. Too bad, because that would have flipped over that purple encounter marker, which would have been really useful, especially for Tobin. He's the one not liking this. For the next result, get plains, road, and mountains, so the colt will move to the plains. And now for our last result. It is road, plains, and mountains. So we have 2 choices. Away from the town is always a good choice. Now for the end of movement step. For the end of movement step, Jonas gets mountains, plains, and roads. So the colt will be moving up to the plain and turning around. On to Tobin the Farslayer. Too far away to get to that red marker, he decides to try and get the colt to move. He's going to go over to a yellow marker. This challenge is ignored. We'll roll 2 movement dice. First result is road and river, so no movement. Second result, same thing, river and road, so no movement. For the end of movement step, we roll mountains, plains, and road. The colt moves to the plains, closer to the action. Now on to Jonas the Kind. Right now Jonas is surrounded by forests. He rolls and only gets 1 forest result, so he's going to have to hang around in the forest until his next turn. He decides to get closer to that red marker. Tobin faces a similar problem, only with mountains. He gets 1 mountain result and decides to cross over to a yellow marker and get that colt moving once again. We have 11 cards in our special discard pile. So this game might actually end because it has too many cards in the discard pile. On our first result, we will be moving to the plains. For the second result, river and forest, so no movement for the colt. End of movement step, we got hills, so there's going to be movement now. Tobin wants to make sure that colt turns over that purple marker or brands Jonas. Now on to Jonas the Kind. Jonas could go ahead and go on to challenge with marker number 4, but that is a red challenge, which is the hardest challenge in the game. So far, all he's ever done is defeat green challenges. 7 of them, to be exact. Going from green to red might be quite a risk, especially if you consider that if he fails and is knocked out, he'll have to go over to the town of Dawnsmore, which has been infiltrated by the colt, meaning he will be branded. That means he will have to lose one of his rune cultists that he's gained as a trophy. For him, that would mean that instead of 7, he would get only 6 VP. And that actually means that if the game ends now, he would lose the game. Because Tobin has 7 VPs worth of trophies, but he has only 3 yellows, which if the game ended now would give him an additional 6 bonus points. Plus 1 that he has is 13 points. But right now, as it stands, if the game ended, Jonas would be in the lead because he has 7 green challenges, which would give him an additional 7 bonus at the end of the game, which brings him to 14. 14 to 13, the winner will be Jonas. So he decides to be a chicken and trek all the way to a purple marker that has yet to be explored so that the cult can move, hopefully opening that purple marker right next to it so that in the next turn maybe he can try his luck up there. Now he knows that if he does this, what might happen is that Tobin will take advantage and go over to the purple marker. Now he's hoping that he won't get the necessary dice that he'll need to move on to the purple marker, but highly doubtful. He still has to do something during his turn, and if he turns over that purple marker and it's discarded in a special card pile, the game will be closer to coming to an end. So that's what he's doing. He's moving right along over to a purple marker, and the cult will be moving hopefully quite a lot with 3 movement dice. That means that hopefully the cult will give these adventurers a lot to do during their next turns. Let's see what he gets. The purple challenge will be ignored, and we are going to start rolling for the cult to move. First result, river and road. No movement there. Second result, there's those hills we were looking for. The cult turns over the purple marker, and we're ready to roll one more time. Next we get river and swamp. No movement there. And now for the end of movement turn, we get mountains, plains, and road. The purple marker stands open and the cult is not on top of it, so Tobin the Farslayer could actually not be happier. Thank you, Jonas, he says. Now on to his turn. Tobin Farslayer gets exactly what he needs to move over to the purple marker. This is the challenge that Tobin Farslayer will be facing. It is a bound angel with a health of 4. Well, Tobin has already killed enemies with a health of 4, so not bad. Let's check for abilities. There is a before combat ability. Test jump 16 to bring the angel to the ground. 16 is quite high. If you succeed, this challenge's damage in the ranged combat phase is reduced to 1. We will get 7 delicious gold coins for defeating this challenge. Makes me think that it's not going to be easy with such a delicious reward. Let's see the stats. 19 and 4. That ranged combat is really going to be difficult if we don't succeed the before combat test. Then melee is 10 and 1, and magic, 17 and 3. Yes, this angel is quite hard. So with all that said, let's get ready for combat. Tobin brings everything he has to this combat, and let's see if all of it is enough to defeat this angel enemy. First we have to check for the before combat, so let's roll for that. Tobin rolls an 11. He gets 5 from range, so that's 16. And guess what? That's exactly what he needed to succeed in the before combat test. So this enemy's range attack is now reduced to 1. That's going to probably help. Tobin takes a sweat to use his before combat ability and rolls only a 2 against a, yes, there it is, 19. So we will not be giving damage to this enemy at this point. Let's move on to the first phase of combat, ranged. In the first phase of combat, Jonas rolls a 14. He gets 5 automatically, which is 19, which is barely enough to go ahead and give damage to this enemy. Our enemy suffers 2 damage. Next up is melee, and we send our trusted moon dwarf, and he actually does a great job getting a 17 plus 3 that he automatically gets in the melee phase is 20, plus his ability will work in this case because the challenge is on a hill, and his ability reads that if it's on a mountain or a hill space, if the challenge is on a mountain or a hill space, he gets plus 3 bonus, putting him at 23 right now, and he inflicts plus 1 damage in melee combat. So instead of 1 damage, he's going to be giving our enemy 2 damage. Moon Dwarf, I don't know what we would have done without you. Our enemy is defeated. Tobin has managed to accumulate 5 experience points total. So that means that he can go ahead and again choose a skill to upgrade. So now he decides to go ahead and improve his melee skill in case there are any tests that he needs to take, and also because it might help with his weapon that inflicts plus 1 damage if he defends in the melee phase. For the end of movement, he rolls road, plain, and hills. The cult moves and turns over a yellow marker.